Esmae Salesa is a 19-year-old Samoan Tongan youth activist who is currently fighting for the justice of Samoans through the Samoan Citizenship Bill that looks at restoring the citizenship of Samoans that were born between 1924 and 1949. Esmae's grandfather moved to New Zealand from Satupuala Upolu, Samoa, for a better life for himself, his family, and generations to come. If it wasn't for Esmae's grandfather, she would not be here today, living a life forged through hard work and woven together by the Samoan values of love and service. Her grandfather lived years in New Zealand, worked most of his life in New Zealand, and still was denied citizenship up to the day he passed away. Like Esmae's grandfather, there is now an estimated less than 3,000 Samoans who are unjustly affected by this. Isme believes that it is time for the younger Samoan and Pacific generation to stand up and fight for justice for their elders the same way they fought for us. Good afternoon, Esmae. How are you today?
Salofa, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming on. You're such a brilliant role model for our youth here in New Zealand, and I'm so happy to have you on our show because there's so much that I want to talk to you about. But first of all, I want to talk to you because you study fashion at AUT.
Yes.
What made you want to get into fashion?
I've always been into making things ever since I was little, and from like as young as I can remember, I've always just loved to make a mess in the house, which my parents haven't always agreed with, but at one point the mess turned into like just cool stuff that I could make.
Yeah.
And so like throughout high school I got really into like exploring specifically my Samoan and Tongan heritage through clothing and just like the arts like ngawe and lalanga specifically. I've got a really keen interest in all of that area, and I'd love to see the kind of work that I'm into on a day-to-day basis represented on our people, our stories reflected through clothing, because we are the OG storytellers, and I feel like that spans across all different kinds of mediums like film, books, clothing. Everything has a story to it.
Absolutely.
And clothing can tell our stories and who we are.
I mean, that is a very good point. And I like the fit that you came in with today. Even your jacket, she's not wearing her jacket now, but I like that you wear street clothing and then you have Tongan accessories. What are those accessories called?
Oh, these are Samoan.
Oh, they're Samoan.
Yeah.
Jokes. Cancel me right now. So you're wearing Samoan accessories just on top of your normal clothes, which is kind of like not common, eh? Like you don't see it a lot. And what makes you want to put these pieces together?
Well, I think like we kind of see it a little bit now with the way that, I mean, specifically because I went to Macaulay, girls were always getting in trouble for wearing says in their hair. And, you know, a say is just something that makes you feel comfortable within school. It's a reflection of who you are. And again, like I feel like you can reflect who you are through jewelry and different accessories specifically, just to make you feel comfortable in your own skin or proud of where you come from and, you know, who you are. Especially because my Samoan and Tongan, like my language level and understanding isn't that high. I find it almost comforting to like adorn like these accessories and the clothing. Like I wrote about in one of my school projects how like ta'avala and kiekie, when I wrap myself in them, it's like being wrapped in my culture. It's something comforting, and I kind of want to aim. I hope that everyone else can take inspiration from that and just pride themselves in their culture through fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. You are also an advocate for the Samoan Citizenship Bill, which is currently on the select committee stage.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of encouragement to try and get people to put through submissions and sign petitions to have this go through. So that's why I wanted to invite you on the show, because you're advocating heavily in that space. You gave a speech at the last protest, and it was very powerful. I watched it and I nearly teared up.
And everyone here can speak to why they are here today, but especially why they're here in this country. And I am here because in 1962, my grandfather moved here. And And he left everything and everyone he knew behind for a better future for my generation. And his name was Esmae Salesa. And he moved here from Sassuolo in Upolu in Samoa. And I am forever grateful for everything that he did that has led me to be here today. And while he may not be in this life anymore, so many of my young people who are here and they can fight on behalf of our elders who are buried here, who died here, who lived their lives here. My papa lived here for 60 years. He lived in New Zealand for longer than he was in Samoa. He worked here. His life was here. He spent 45 years working in the factories in East Tamaki. 45 years he worked for New Zealand. 45 years he was denied of his citizenship. He was denied of his birthright to be a New Zealand citizen. And today, as the younger generation, we are here and we can fight for our elders.
Yes.
Those who are not here today and those who are deserving of their birthright. There is an estimated less than 3,000 of our elders today who would be affected by this bill. And it is unjust, it isn't right that they haven't been granted access to their citizenship. In 1976, Esmae Salesa stood in a courtroom. She stood arrested in jail, and she said she knew that she was a New Zealand citizen. She was born in Western Samoa when it was a colony of the British Crown. She was a New Zealand citizen, and her right to be a New Zealand citizen, to live in this country, to work in this country, was denied. She took them to court. She fought for our people. She fought for our future. She fought for now our elders. And we should be so grateful for her, because in 1982, citizenship was granted for our elders, and less than 8 weeks later, that was taken away from them. 42 years on today, our elders are still denied their citizenship. 42 years later.
So how did it feel like delivering that in front of the public?
I was really nervous, specifically because I don't really enjoy public speaking. It's not really my thing. But I feel like, especially with issues that concern our people and our elders, we are their voices. And I mean, I feel like, especially recently with the stage that the amendment bill is in currently, not enough people are talking about it. And in that moment, I felt like I was presented with an opportunity to better everyone else.
Why do you think not many people are talking about it?
Well, I just feel that there's a lack of education around exactly what has happened. It's been so long since the Western Samoan Citizenship Act was introduced, so it's something that we don't talk about enough, especially today, and what that meant for our people and our elders.
Absolutely. So let's get straight into it, because, you know, there's a lot of people asking questions. Where can I find information? There's actually quite a bit of information online. There's quite a few articles that have been written. So if you're watching this, there is a lot of articles that you can refer to online. But obviously, Isme is going to do here, the hard work for you guys and explain to you guys what is the Samoan Citizenship Bill. There's huge context to this, so we're going to start from the beginning. So why were Samoans coming to New Zealand in the first place?
Well, the Great Migration period started in the late 50s and the early 60s. So many Samoans were coming over to Aotearoa because of this economic boom that was happening, and New Zealand needed all of these workers. And in response to that, when the economy crashed about, 10 years later, there was no longer a need for all these workers here. And a lot of the workers were younger people who were beginning to start families and settle down in Aotearoa, opposed to their home country. And then following that, of course, we know the dawn raids started to happen, specifically with visas and overstayers, even though we know statistically our people were not the highest number of overstayers in this country.
But they were the only ones being targeted. And then we had the Fuimaono case. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Well, Esmae Salesa was a woman who was arrested in a dawn raid in the late 70s. And in jail, I'm pretty sure she stood there. And after her case went to the Privy Council, her lawyers and her decided to fight back because she knew that she was a British subject since she was born in Western Samoa when it was a colony of the British Crown. So she knew that they had no right to deport her, especially because other New Zealand citizens had just received this now newfound act of citizenship. Before New Zealand citizenship was formally introduced, all people who lived in New Zealand, who lived and were born in New Zealand and any other colony, were just recognised subjects of the Crown. And Fuimaono was also a subject of the Crown, but she had never received her rightful citizenship.
And so they took this to the Privy Council.
Yes.
That's like above the New Zealand government. And it was like the highest council. And it kind of tells something to our people that even though we go to the highest councils and receive justice, what happened when she came back to New Zealand? How was that ruling with the current government at that time, which was Muldoon?
Yeah. Well, the Privy Council ruled that, her Fuimaono was entitled to citizenship as well as all of these other Western Samoans who were born when Western Samoa was a colony of the Crown. And after that, their descendants should also technically be New Zealand citizens because of the British Nationality and Citizenship Act, which ruled that anyone born after the 1st of January in 1949, their descendants were also New Zealand citizens. But this isn't recognised because of the introduction of the Western Samoan Citizenship Bill, which annulled everyone's citizenship if they couldn't prove that they had been in New Zealand in 1982. I can't remember the exact date.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right, yeah.
If you couldn't prove that you were here, then you weren't a New Zealand citizen. You had to find another way to gain your citizenship.
So, truthfully, Muldoon shut that down.
Yes, he did.
And at that time, there was a lot of response to that, and they called it out for what it rightfully was, which was racist, to not allow what was rightfully theirs, what was justly theirs, their citizenship. So where are we at with that today?
Well, today we are trying to amend the Western Samoan Citizenship Act with a new bill which will reinstate the citizenship of elders who are aged today 75 to 100 who were born during this colonial period in 1924 to 1949. And only they will receive their citizenship since they are the only ones that are recognized subjects of the Crown. And even after that, if this bill passes, because it hasn't passed yet, our elders will have to specifically go out of their way to apply for citizenship.
Right.
They won't just be given it. It's something you have to apply for.
Right. So more inconvenience, even though it's just justly theirs. But in saying that, why do you feel it's important for Pacific youth to engage with this bill?
Well, there's definitely a number of reasons to, engage with your elders. And I know that everyone has a different relationship with their own old people in their lives. But specifically from where I come from, my Samoan elders are no longer in this life. And my generation and my cousins, my sister and I, we are now the voice for them. So we, the next generation of Samoans, are the voice for our elders who have been voiceless for so long.
Bluwave GALUMONA. We are focused on providing digital solutions for our Pacific people. With a creative team that incorporates Pasifika values and cultures, there are no limitations. We offer a variety of digital media solutions that cater to Pacific peoples. With over 10 years' experience in graphic design and photography, we take pride in creating art with a Pacific focus. We also specialize in filming, editing, and live streaming. A digital media company serving our Pasifika families, Pasifika businesses, and Pasifika communities. Bluwave GALUMONA. Live and breathe Pacific.
Tell us a bit about, the experience of your grandfather.
Oh, well, my papa immigrated here in like the late 60s. And he left Samoa and his family. He left everything he knew behind when he was about 17. He was 17 when he moved here because he died.
That's so crazy.
He died about he wants to come sooner. And he worked in the Fisher and Paykel factory.
Right.
He's out close to here in East Tamaki for 42 years. My nan's probably gonna watch this and fact check me.
Yeah.
But he worked there for a very long time. He lived in New Zealand longer than he lived in Samoa, and he built his whole life here. And I'm so grateful for everything that he built, because he built it for my dad, and then my dad passed it on to me.
Yeah. And this is more of a kind of like emotional question, because I feel like you are someone who's very connected and grounded with their roots and with their ancestors. What does it feel like to, be navigating Western society and constantly be carrying the work and the service that your ancestors laid before you? Like, how does it feel like a burden to you, or are you grateful? What kind of mixed emotions do you feel when you think about those things?
I don't think it's a burden to carry the stories of your ancestors. I think it's very uplifting, knowing that when I take my steps into the future, they're either walking alongside of me or they're walking in front, leading the way. And we have the power to share their stories specifically. And if you have an elder in your life, you can share their story by writing and submitting before the 31st of May on the Parliamentary Services website.
That's the one, guys. You heard it. Yeah. So, for a youth that's watching and maybe they don't feel disconnected at all, they don't feel like this is something that they can stance with, what does it mean to fill in a submission?
Well, when you make a submission, you are directly writing to the select committee. You're writing to the select committee, which is a part of our government, who are going to look over everything, to every submission and my petition as well. All the signatures and just any stories that people have to share, they influence the select committee in their decision to either pass or deny the bill. So it's very important that you either make a submission or sign the petition, because every story that you can share will influence their decision.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Numbers are very important for this. And obviously there's been a lot of politics involved in the Samoan Citizenship Bill. Shockingly, majority of the government have agreed to support this bill.
Yeah.
David Seymour, your Uncle Winnie.
Winnie. I don't think it's shocking that he actually supports it.
Nah, he's got a good relationship with the Pacific.
He loves the Pacific and he loves the elderly community. And I think the same goes for David Seymour.
Yeah.
Even though, he wants to get rid of the Ministry of Pacific People.
Yeah.
In the end, he still wants to support our elders.
Yes.
And I feel like they're prioritizing the elders over the fact that they are Pacific, but who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not David Seymour. I can't speak for him. So, yeah.
But I love that you're humble enough to acknowledge that, which is awesome. And the National Party hasn't supported, which I find quite funny. What are your thoughts on that? On the government of the day not supporting the citizenship bill?
Well, I mean, in any case, if I were to do something wrong, and after 10 years, I finally admitted that I did something wrong, it's a hard thing to do. It's hard to come forward and accept the wrongdoings of the past. So I can understand from that viewpoint why it's so hard for them to even acknowledge our elders and acknowledge that what they did in the past, what National did in the past was wrong. And then, of course, on top of that, being in support of this amendment bill requires National to confront the fact that they weren't just racist when introducing the Western Samoan Citizenship Act. They're racist today. Because the fact that this is still a law that we've allowed to go unheard of, allowed to be a law today for 42 years in Aotearoa is racist. It's still racist. And the law continues to suppress our Samoan community today, specifically our elders. Some who have spent, like my papa, more of their lives here than in Samoa.
They've been making a lot of excuses about it. They're saying, oh, it won't work. But that's exactly what the select committee is for. It's for them to come together and
I definitely
find
could
solutions.
think that could definitely be another reason why they are opposing it, because they may not have. Well, obviously, when you have like an estimated 3,000 people who will be on the pension come into New Zealand as citizens, you've got to find the money for it, and they could just. Even after all of this, they could just say, we don't have the money to fund 3,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel like personally that I don't think they've properly given it time.
Yeah.
It's not a priority for them. So I guess that just draws more importance as to why the Pacific community, Samoan community should just be more united in that sense. But it is good that we have support of all the other parties, which is pretty awesome. What does the success of this bill mean to you, your family, and your community?
Well, I think that it means justice for our elders. It's also a learning experience for a lot of young my fellow young Samoans. You've got a lot to learn from this bill. It's our history. It's the history of our country. Especially for me, what this means is it's just justice. I kind of advocated so strongly for this because, it's like a connection to my community, being a voice for our Samoan community. I felt quite inspired by the life of my auntie who recently passed away, just because of how strong she was as an advocate for our Samoan community here. Her name was Melenga Lenu Asam. She founded the Ngangana Samoa curriculum with a few other teachers. And with that kind of background that I come from, I feel such a strong, connection to just pay it forward because she did so much for everyone else. So the success of this bill would mean so much to myself, but also those who have now passed on. It would mean righting a wrong of the past, and our elders are finally able to live their lives in peace, knowing that they have achieved the justice and they have finally been given a birthright that they owed. Yeah.
May she rest in love. A lot of members in our team were actually very close to Mele. She was, like you said, a staunch advocate in the Pacific space, and she's done so much. She's laid so many pathways and opened so many doors for so many people. So I can see the mana where you come from and the people who have pushed you forward to propel you to where you are today. And you're so passionate about this, and I'm so blessed to be in your presence and share this passion with you.
I could say the same. You have a very, very big platform. It's kind of really nervous to be here. So, yeah.
Oh, you did so well. And we're happy to be your first podcast that you've been on. Hopefully not the last. We'll have more episodes together. But I wanted just to ask you one last question, and that was, what would be your words of encouragement to any youth who wants to come forward and to support this, but they're kind of just feeling a lack of confidence at the moment?
Well, I think that we find strength in numbers. And I know that in Samoan spaces especially, it's kind of hard to find strength when you feel a bit ostracized. But that experience that we have today is the next generation of Pasifika. We can liken to our elders and how they were ostracized long ago. And today we may feel that same isolating feeling, but when we unite together, we're able to just come together and seek justice for our elders. So I really encourage anyone, not just young Samoans, to be a part of this movement, mainly because, well, we can learn so much from this. You can definitely be a part of the history that we're making today, and this can be the first step on your journey to embracing your culture and embracing your heritage and showing up for your family and your elders.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Esme, for coming on the show. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge. We appreciate you so much. We will obviously be backing this bill and supporting the different groups of people who will be trying to get submissions in before next week, right? So could you tell us about the deadline next week?
Oh, well, the deadline is the end of this month, 31st of May, which is also coincidentally Samoan Language Week. So, Manuele aso ngangana o Samoa. I did not say that right, so sorry, Auntie Mele. She will haunt me from my grave. And it's just really important that you either sign the petition that I started. I trust that you guys will link it somewhere. I have no idea how this works.
No,
or you can submit to the Parliamentary Services website. You can make a submission which will go to the Select Committee. My petition will go to the Petitions Committee, so it will be seen by a different group of people. But again, it will still be in support of amending this bill.
We're going to put the links to where you can go to make a submission and also your petition so that you can sign. That can all be done online. And yeah.
I think the last thing to add is, of course, encourage everyone else in your life to sign the petition or make a submission because we need as many signatures and as many submissions as possible by the end of this week. Like I said before, strength comes in numbers and we need thousands of people to help make this change.
Yeah.
I think right now, I can check the number, but my petition is close to 5,000 signatures. It would be so cool right now if I refresh this and it said 5,000, but we'll see. Nope, it's still loading. It's still loading. 4,900.
Oh, there we go.
100 more people need to sign.
It's 100 more people. Come on, guys. And if you are on that link, just go around to your family household and then just get everyone's names and into their stuff in as well. So that'd be really awesome. But thank you so much, Esmae. Yeah, let's get to work. Let's get to work. Yeah, let's get
Post about it on your socials. Honestly, a 5-second post on your Instagram will make someone wonder, oh my gosh, why is everyone posting this old lady in a Samoan flag? I need to find out. So just strength in numbers, strength everywhere. We got this.
We got this.
Yeah.